Today I'm going to talk about a paper. Ground-based climate data show evidence of warming and intensification of the seasonal rainfall cycle during the 1960 to 2020 period in Yangambi, central Congo Basin. This paper is by Emmanuel Kasongo Yakuzu and colleagues, and it was published in the Journal of Climatic Change in 2023. So what is this paper? It's quite simple. It's an analysis of data from a weather monitoring station in Yangambi in the Congo Basin. What's interesting about this paper is that there's very little data for this region, and so this data gives us a chance to examine the effects of climate change in Central Africa. The authors actually had to visit the weather station because, although the weather station collected data, it was not digitized, and so it had to be inputted into a computer. After doing this, the authors kindly made their data available on Figshare, and I recommend checking out this website because a lot of scientists use it to post their data and figures for public consumption, and of course for citations in other scientific papers. First, we'll take a look at the raw data, and then we'll take a look at the paper and see what they concluded. Okay, so we've got this data loaded, and you'll notice that it's quite simple. It's a daily record from January 1st, 1960 until November 30th, 2022, and it's got the maximum temperature, the minimum temperature, and the daily precipitation. Now, I want to say that I won't be going over the entire data and the complete analysis in the paper, but we'll look at the main part of it, which is about temperature. We'll be able to see if there are any clear trends in temperature. Let's just make a few charts to see the raw data visually, and then we can go to the paper. So to start, I'll load this data into R and plot the daily maximum temperature. Now, as you see, there's so many points on this graph that we need some way of simplifying it. But before we do that, I'm going to run a linear model to see if there's truly any increase. And with this linear model, we do see that we have a significant positive coefficient for the day, which shows that there is an increase. We can visualize it more easily by looking at the yearly average. So I just wrote a basic program here to compute the yearly average between 1960 and 2020. And plotting this shows a better view of how the temperature is increasing. Of course, this is not a huge time scale in terms of geologic time scales, but as we know now that because of our immense output of carbon dioxide, we no longer have to wait for geologic time scales to see the climate change, and this temperature increase is certainly consistent with the global temperature increase and our increase of carbon dioxide outputted into the atmosphere. So now that we got a quick glimpse of the data, we can go and look at the paper. We can see that there's a general trend of temperature increase in average maximum and average minimum temperature. Moreover, there's an increase in the number of extreme warm days. These are defined in this graph to be the days warmer than 95% of days, and similarly, there's a decrease in the number of extreme cool days. The story of precipitation is more complex, but basically the authors found increasing variability in rainfall, with dry seasons getting drier and wet seasons getting wetter. All this data is very disturbing and really does indicate that we should work very hard to reduce our CO2 output, which would lessen the already enormous greenhouse gas effect of our fossil fuel use. At the end of the paper, the authors concluded that our results are in line with previous reports of a drying trend in the dry season in Central Africa during the last 2 decades, based on available interpolated gridded climate data sets. Ongoing warming and increasing precipitation, seasonality, and intensity in Yangambi, with increasing extreme temperature events, drier dry seasons and wetter rainy seasons already have a significant impact on crop yields in Yangambi. I hope you found that informative, and I plan to start summarizing more papers related to climate change on this channel, hopefully doing at least 2 per month, so that I can bring a greater awareness to some of the most recent climate research that we have, and perhaps this will help us understand the problem of climate change in more detail than before. If you have any questions or any recommendations, I suggest you leave them in the comments, and I hope you have a great day.